Surprising Boston Bruins trade talks are underway as Jean-Gabriel Pageau has been linked to the Boston Bruins, and fans are quite split on this. We're going to be breaking it down, going over how Marco Sturm would impact this trade, as well as multiple updates surrounding the Boston Bruins, and a very interesting signing that could be coming for this team. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of news to get underway here today. Very quickly, before we do jump into it, be sure to check out the Spotify of this very busy time of the year. We got the channel on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you do get your podcast. We're going to have it all there for you. And as I mentioned, it's a very busy time of the year. I know you may not be able to watch these videos here on YouTube whenever you can. So if you're on the road, be sure to go and follow the podcast. You get all of the updates right there. But let's get straight into this video. We have a lot of stuff to discuss here today, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that Bruins fans are going to be very intrigued by. And starting off here with Stefan Roster, tweeting this out, I'm told that the Bruins are the latest team to inquire about the Islanders' Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Now, the kind of reaction to this, I don't want to say it was all positive from Bruins fans. I feel like Bruins fans right now, after what we had seen last year at the trade deadline, don't like this move. It's very similar of the players we got rid of, some players that we know we're not going to be part of this team for the future, and it feels like we're going back on what Don Sweeney had already said, that they're looking to build a new team, they're looking to get new faces, and that's where Marco Sturm as well kind of came into his interview, his interview and introductory press conference for this Bruins team, saying, we need new faces. The guys like Brad Marchand, the guys like Brandon Carlo, they're gone. They're not part of this team anymore, and we're trying to get a new identity. I feel like a guy like Jean-Gabriel Pageau completely takes that out of the way for the Boston Bruins and kind of goes back on what Marco Sturm said about this team, because we know that, I feel like Jean-Gabriel Pageau is a good player. There's no doubt about that. Is he the right fit for the Boston Bruins? I think it's the thing that people really need to think about, is the fit more so than the player and the skills. And I think right now, no. He's certainly put up some phenomenal numbers in his career. I don't want to say phenomenal, actually. I should say some very good numbers for what his role has been. He's never been that first-line winger, the first-line center. He's never really been that first-line guy in his career. But going to be that, second, middle, six, second-line, third-line guy, he's a very good fit for that. And, of course, last year was one of his best years in his career with 42 points, just under his career high, which is 43. But he's not a goal scorer. He's not a guy that will put the puck in the back of the net, and that's what the Bruins are looking for right now. So, as we kind of look at Jean-Gabriel Pageau as an option, his playoffs, he's been pretty consistent in when he's been in there. But overall, I don't think he's any help right now, at least to the Boston Bruins. That, on top of his contract, really do not fit well with the Boston Bruins. 1 year remaining this upcoming year at $5 million, and now a trade for Jean-Gabriel Pageau would likely come with a 50% retention. Obviously, $5 million is quite a bit for him. But when it does come down to it, a 2.5 really is not as bad as it could be for a depth second-line center. And even though the Bruins are still looking to add centers, to add down the middle, Pageau is going to be an option that a lot of teams are going to consider. But those are for teams that are looking to be deep in the playoffs, looking to add for their playoff run, while the Bruins are still not at that point yet and trying to make the playoffs once again. Is going to be their part of their consideration and what comes next for their decision-making here down the middle. So I want to know what you guys think about this, of course, because Jean-Gabriel Pageau is a good player. There's no doubt about that, but he's not right now the fit for the Bruins. And, going on 33 years old, 5'11", not the biggest guy, not too great on defense either, not really what the Bruins are looking for, and not really anything that would help this team out here right away. I feel like this is also going to come as well when we do go and take a look at the depth that this team has over the AHL and the NHL. This comes from Bruins Cap Space on X. You do see, there's a lot of centers on this team, not many quality ones that I would trust consistently as a number 2 center, even a number 1 when needed. And Pageau is a guy that could, but not as long as the Bruins would like. He's probably a 2 or 3 year guy before he retires, and it really just doesn't affect anything the Bruins are looking for at this very moment, especially when you have a lot of young guys trying to crack this roster, and ones that need to make this roster to develop into the superstars that we want to see them as. So let me know what you think about Jean-Gabriel Pageau. I feel like a lot of people are kind of iffy on him about what they want to see from the Bruins when it comes to an older type of center that could fill that role of a number 2 veteran center. A guy like Jean-Gabriel Pageau would fit that, but if it were any team other than the Boston Bruins, it may be a much better fit, but not for us at this very moment. Now, as I mentioned, we have multiple Bruins updates to get into, and we have now the announcements for the Milan Winter Olympics. And some players from the Bruins have been announced to their teams to start off here. As you see, 3 Bruins players were named to the preliminary rosters for the 2026 Olympics. The teams announced Monday. Defenseman Charlie McAvoy will join the Team USA, one of the 6 that have already been announced. And David Pastrnak and Pavel Zacha both will join Czechia in this upcoming Winter Olympics. Now, this is a very interesting kind of look here because we know that, Charlie McAvoy likely was going to be on this team. David Pastrnak, no doubt. Pavel Zacha was someone as well that certainly would have been a great opportunity for this roster and has officially made earlier in the I would say a lot of people thought of. But now that every team has really announced their 6 players, it's going to be interesting to see where and who other Bruins or what other Bruins come out into these Olympic teams when it does get announced, a full roster. So these are going to be in February, going to be taking place instead of the All-Star game this year and instead of a, Four Nations face-off, which is something that I think we all enjoyed. And I feel like a guy like Elias Lindholm, someone who really heated up down the stretch last year, not named to this top 6 on the Swedish team, but certainly will be here, I'm assuming, on this team, no doubt, when it comes down to their roster fully being announced. And I'm expecting a lot more Bruins to be on it as well. One name to watch, Jeremy Swayman. What happens with him? We know there's a lot of good U.S. goaltenders, but it will happen to see what happens with Ottinger, with Connor Hellebuck. I feel like those two are good options here. We saw Swayman be another goalie there in the Four Nations face-off, being that third goalie, but in the World Championship was phenomenal down there. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out, and I'm assuming that a lot of teams are going to be looking at the beginning of next season to find out who they want to fill out those teams. So that's something to keep an eye on. But we do have one final update here today in this video, and I want to pull up something, a very interesting article of a potential signing coming down for the Boston Bruins here at some point in this offseason. It's coming from Hockey News Hub. Can confirm, amongst others, teams mentioned before, that the Utah Mammoth, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Boston Bruins, and the New York Islanders have shown interest in KHL free agent Maxim Shabanov. Now, this is a very interesting signing, or a prospect, or whatever you want to call him, but opportunity for these teams. Now, this is one that not many NHL teams really get the opportunity to kind of jump on early on in the offseason, really get to look at. Guys like this don't come very often. I'm going to pull up the stats here and kind of go over what kind of player he is and why this is not, a good fit for the Bruins, but a perfect fit for the Boston Bruins coming here with a few concerns that I want to get your opinion on. Now, Maxim Shabanov is certainly an interesting player when it does come down to it, because he's 24 years old, born in the year 2000, still a young player. Look at his KHL stats over the last 3 years. 31 points, 50 points, 67 points, 20 points in 21 games in the playoffs this season. And looking at his stats, he has been a very good player in the KHL. We know that their competition over there still very, very tough, and seeing how he's been able to play at that level as a 24-year-old is something that really puts my mind. As a 24-year-old, something really comes to my mind when I see someone like this. Now, we're going to touch on what can be a bit concerning here in a moment, but Kirill Kaprizov is something that really reminds me here of this kind of stats, the way that this played out in the end of his possible end of his KHL career before heading over to the NHL. Now, although Maxim Shabanov not drafted, but Kirill Kaprizov was, so there's a difference there. But when you also do look at the size, 5'8", 155, he is a pretty small guy, and I think that's something that the Bruins don't really hate at this point. I think they want to get bigger, but I think that the main thing they're looking for is generating offense and being able to see a guy who getting 25 goals last season, 23, this most recent season, 44 assists though this year. He's a guy that certainly brings the playmaking game to this, level, and also has the ability to put the puck in the back of the net. So this is something to keep an eye on as well. I want to say that, this is someone I don't want to say is right now the Boston Bruins are completely all in on, because we don't know just yet. All we have is this report, so or this one here. Take this with a grain of salt as well, but this could be something that the Bruins seriously need to consider if they want to be able to take that bigger leap that they've been talking about here in this offseason. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below as well. But that's all I have in this video. Let me know what you think about everything. I think JG Pajot is the one thing as well that a lot of people are going to have mixed opinions on. Do you agree with me? Not really the perfect fit for the Bruins, but if needed, could be okay. Let me know what you think about that, but that is all I got in this video. Your guys' support's been absolutely incredible lately. I just want to say this before I finish it off, because we got a lot of news coming, and we got a lot of Bruins news that are on the way. We have another video coming tomorrow morning, likely, or tonight. We got to see. Make sure to hit the sub button, though, so you do know when we're coming up here on these videos. And I did want to say, we're very close to 7K as well, so your guys' support's been absolutely incredible. But I do appreciate all of you guys. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, like I said, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But I'm signing out. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.